Tonight, our next guest tonight, Jim MURCOTT, is an ex-racing car driver who runs a highly specialized anti-terrorist driving course for drivers, or people who work professionally as drivers, designed to help safeguard anyone who's likely to be a potential target of attack. The actions that they should take, what they should do, and how to do them is what he teaches them. Anyway, we can find out a lot more about it if we get him out here, so would you say hello to Jim MURCOTT? Here you go. Well, I've sort of explained briefly what it's about. Jim, what's the reason for this course? Why would you start classes in this particular?
Because there was a demand for it. There's a lot of danger in people being caught for ransom, a lot of criminal activity in grabbing very important people, and there's a need to protect those people, either teaching them or their chauffeurs how to provide that safety.
When I first heard about you coming on and I talked about it, it didn't even dawn on me how many times things happen around cars. President Reagan got shot on his way to his car. Of course, President Kennedy. I then started listing down the different people with cars, and there's an awful lot takes place around it. You know, you're very right in that.
Well, we had two deaths in Sydney. The Turkish diplomat and his aide were shot dead just on Christmas last in Sydney.
And of course, in places like Italy, it's become like the sport to catch not only high-ranking political officials, but to catch just affluent businessmen, I suppose.
Oh, yeah, and their children and their wives and their family.
Yeah. All right, well, what do you teach now? What are the different aspects of the course?
Well, it's a 4-day program, and we start off with some pretty basic advanced driving in teaching the drivers how to handle a simple emergency, how to drive defensively, and that's what comes in on our more basic courses. But then we go into country areas and away from people and away from the cameras, and we teach these guys really to be a cross between a racing driver and a stunt car driver. And it's pretty hard work, and there's a lot of discussion and films and lectures and quite a lot of driving.
We're going to look at an example here in just a second, but before we do, where does all of this training come from you? The knowledge, I mean, for this.
Well, the requirement for it came up about 15 months ago. I got some requests to run these sorts of courses. I did a lot of research. I went to America about 14 months ago and spent 6 weeks there and involved this sort of research while I was there at that time. And it's developed very well from there. Okay, well, here's one of your exercises, one of the things that you teach, and we can have a close look here. Here we go. Now, what are we doing here? Well, this is what they call in America the bootleg turn, where the car spins around 180 degrees and then recovers and drives off in the opposite direction without a stop.
Right.
That's if you're coming up to a roadblock or somebody's going to block the road and leap out and attack the driver or the passenger, and you have to flick the car around 180 degrees and then head off in the opposite direction so that you've at least got a start.
Right. And you've also got a surprise element here, I suppose, because a terrorist or anyone else that we're going to try and do something like that, they wouldn't expect you to be able to do that fast.
Indeed, if you get a driver who's untrained and not aware of the problems and not looking for the problems, it can take about 30 seconds for his managing director to be caught and taken away.
Well, I suppose even in that instant there, that would have meant that if he hadn't done that spin, they would have been out of the car and on them in a second.
Yeah, if you can only prolong the time that the capture's going to take, well, you know, like a 3-minute chase up the middle of Burke Street would soon have half of the Russell Street force on their heels in the street, and you've got some safety
certainly
there.
Would. Let's take a look at the next example now that we got here.
Here we are, where we've been blocked in behind a car and the assailant jumps out, so we back up in reverse very quickly, flick the car around and then proceed off in a forward gear without the car really stopping. It's fairly hard work inside the car, as you can see.
Right.
Select a forward gear and chase off in the opposite direction.
Of course, during these chases, there are other things they're supposed to do as well, aren't there? I mean, it's not just the driving.
No, that's just two little stunts that are part of the action. But it's really hard work, and there's a lot of thought goes into it. And we'll have to train the drivers what to look for, how to go about it, even how to prepare their car, how to park their car, where to park their car.
What are the other things they do? I mean, is it things like, do they, beeping the horn?
Yeah, well, you can...
yelling for help, I suppose. I don't know.
Well, you could attach a siren to the car if you were really serious about it, and flick the siren. That would attract attention, because attracting attention to the danger situation is very important indeed. and attracting that sort of help. But yes, laying on the horn, all that sort of thing.
And this course is recommended by the Crime Prevention Bureau, but what kind of people come to you? Is it just professional drivers, or is it an average guy as well?
Well, chauffeurs mainly from the banks and the multinational companies, and also their executives who do a lot of driving themselves. And it's quite fun to see the Mercedes-Benz and the LTDs and the Statesmans whizzing around the track, because we teach them to be really high-performance drivers at the same time.
Right, and this is an evasive action they're taking here, isn't it?
Yes, drivers really have a problem when it comes to close proximity driving, and here we show how just a fairly basic manoeuvre, but something that's a lot harder than it looks, and we show the drivers how to keep in close contact with the pursuant, and then how to get him off the road. And if it was for serious there, that yellow Commodore would be off on the grass and heading across towards the fence in very quick time.
Well, thanks for coming in and talking to us.
Thank you, Don.
You've been very enlightening for me as well. Thank you. Jim Murcott. We'll be back. Rod McEwen's got a song. We're going to talk to him, and don't forget, we've got a lot more show for you. Hang on, we'll be back.